Paying homage to the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha. To those beings, particularly Sakyamana Buddha, whom we have the privilege of being in the lineage of, and the blessing of being born human in this lifetime to hear the teachings. And to the teachings themselves, that of course in the time of the Buddha, they didn't have all these names that we give them now. He was just teaching people about seeing directly suffering, what causes the suffering, which is what he discovered was clinging, grasping and clinging, and that there is a path that it can be, clinging can be let go of, and he discovered this path to freedom, and over the years it managed to be consolidated into some teachings that were translated through the years by many different people. So we know the translations come through many countries, and they have many, what's the word I want to say? Well, there's a certain slant on the kind of English, on the kind of language that's used, depending on the time that it's been written. And now we are in the experienced times of, at least here in America, of our sort of Americanized Buddhism as well. But no matter what the approach is, we have this container, this safety of the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha, and the understanding of the precepts that can help us feel safe, and that we have the idea in mind of harmonious living, ethics. And so with that, there is a kind of joy and happiness that can be the foundation of our practice. So as we begin to sit, we can settle comfortably wherever we are, in whatever way works for us. To feel like we're in our noble seated position, or lying down, or walking. And if you're used to meditating a certain way, just begin it that way. All of us are seasoned meditators. I usually like to give a little bit of suggestion around letting gravity be felt where we are seated, and just coming into our seat, coming into this seated position, or lying, whatever the position is, but we embrace it, knowing that there's the elements of earth and air, fire, water. We have the elements holding our aggregates together. And so we know on the relative level there's a sense of self, and we're sitting. And we're trying to relax the body where it is, letting tensions go in the mind as best we can. And just take some time to still the body and notice what happens in the mind, using mindfulness as our guide and awareness, so that we can be mindful of what's arising. We can pay attention to it with awareness, being present as it arises, noticing the limited amount of time, whatever that is, that what is in our field of attention, however long that takes. And then noticing its impermanent nature. So we have mindfulness, seeing clearly what's happening, awareness, staying with mindfulness until we might see that it at least probably has an ending. We can't always see the beginning of things or even the middle of things. Sometimes we can be aware of the endings. And that keeps us in the present moment, whether we use a single object like the breath at the nostrils or the belly, or if we sit in a more spacious awareness and allow whatever arises to be seen at each of the sense doors. The purity of hearing arriving to the ears, the purity of smelling that arises at the nose or tasting in the mouth, seeing with the eyes, and the thought door, what arises in the mind. And so we take this time to sit, hold ourselves in a kindness, a gentleness, without expectations of what's going to come into the mind, without choosing what comes into the mind. We're just with what arises. And oftentimes as we settle into the sitting practice, we might practice with our intended object, like the breath. We sometimes quickly become mindful of other thoughts that arise, such as the hindrances of doubt, or restlessness, or sleepiness. Whatever arises, that can become the temporary object of our mindfulness. We just notice what arises, stay with it, and watch it fade. We also might notice that some things that arise seem to be unwholesome or unskillful. And for those, we use renunciation and just let them drop away as often as we can. And usually we can notice that whatever object is arising, that it disappears. It's characterized by impermanence and dissatisfaction and selflessness, anicca, anatta, dukkha. And then we can wake up in that moment and carry on from there, or we can return our attention to the breath or our chosen object of meditation. It could be the sitting point of the buttocks on the cushion. And then whatever arises next, we repeat this process. And so we don't determine in advance the what objects are going to turn up. We don't really look for them. And we don't really need to categorize exactly what we're thinking. We can make a soft, gentle note, though, if something repeats itself. We might notice that something is unwholesome, or we might notice that something is more wholesome. More wholesome mental objects arise, such as joy, and we just continue to observe whatever is arising, impermanent, arises and passes away. And as we try to maintain this continuity of mindfulness, we may notice sometimes that the unwholesome mental activities eventually occur less frequently, and sometimes the wholesome mental activities are a little more prevalent. As each of you might have reflected some, that sometimes we spend less time getting lost in the unwholesome negative thinking, and it becomes easier to stay sort of abreast of the actions of the mind. So it's a training, a taming of the mind, and a training of the heart and mind. Developing steady and stronger moments of mindfulness. We may be reminded of what we've been talking about, of mindfulness of feelings, pleasant, unpleasant. We may notice whether it's physical in the body, or in mental states. We're just letting mindfulness be at the fore and observing what peaks and then breaks, and then it's replaced by another thought or feeling or sensation in the body, which also peaks and breaks. So quickly, these mind moments, and we're lucky to continue developing training to see them faster and faster. Things can switch from one type of feeling to another in a split second. It can change from moment to moment. But we have that breath to go back to for developing single-pointed concentration. Or we have the spaciousness to hold openness in this breathing body, this container of the breath, to stay grounded in kindness, to just be with what arises and passes away, and allowing the clarity of mindfulness to see in this very present moment what is happening. What is the attitude of the heart and mind right now? noticing what's happening now. We continue waking up in each moment that we find awareness present. We can stay there and see what comes in next. Or we can return to the breath or the touch point as we watch these various mental states, bodily states arise and pass away. And observing these changes gives us insight into our true nature. Noticing clearly when we grasp at something that's pleasant or push away something that's unpleasant. Notice that it's impermanent, or if we grasp at it, we create some constriction in the mind, some suffering in the mind. And as we're with all of these constantly changing mind moments, it's easy to sort of pair them in opposites of when the mind feels greedy and when it's not greedy, or there might be thoughts of ill will and then thoughts of kindness, or perhaps the mind seems, sometimes it's ignorant and sometimes it's very discerning, and sometimes it's contracted and sometimes it's expanded, distracted or focused, sometimes scattered or sometimes concentrated. All of these observing states as they appear and disappear, along with consciousness appearing and disappearing. And as all of this is going on, we hold ourselves gently, kindly, with ease and with compassion, this natural state of arising and passing away, and this privilege of developing clarity. May we hold ourselves in kindness. May we nurture thoughts of goodwill, holding ourselves gently. May we have compassion for ourselves when things are difficult. May I abide in well-being, in freedom from affliction, in freedom from hostility. May I abide in freedom from ill will and freedom from anxiety. And may I maintain well-being in myself. These words from the reflections on well-being are an invitation to explore the feelings of friendliness that lie at the heart of our practice with loving kindness. This friendly wish to open our hearts in a simple and easy way, in expressing universal well-being. May we include others in our heart space. A benefactor, a friend, envisioning them happy and healthy, wishing them to be free from affliction, free from hostility, free from ill will. May you have ease and well-being. Whatever words come to your heart or felt sensation that might arise, just as I wish to be happy, I know that everyone wishes to be happy. Letting these thoughts of kindness and compassion flow to another person, another friend or a benefactor, wishing the same. In gladness, may you be free from suffering. May you be free from ill will. May you take care of yourself happily. And when things are challenging, may you hold yourself in compassion, just as I do. Letting this well-wishing expand from our grounded, centered heart of awareness. Letting this kindness include someone we don't know, or maybe a group of people that we don't know that we are holding in our hearts. Wishing them kindness, compassion, metta and karuna. May they have ease in their life. May they find moments of joy, experience equanimity. May these four immeasurables, these states of heart and mind, of metta, karuna, mudita, upekkha, kindness, compassion, altruistic, sympathetic joy, and equanimity. May these states that we nourish envelop others in our lives, others that we don't know, family members that we do know. There might be some challenges with, maybe neighbors, people beyond our sphere that we see outside of our homes, those that are even unknown to us, beings that are in suffering and beings that are in joy. May all beings, known and unknown, seen and unseen, know true happiness, have ease, be free from ill will, anxiety, take care of themselves happily. May all beings be free. May all beings know their true nature. Anicca vata sankhara upadavaya domino upakita va merochanti te samvapasamo sukho. All conditioned things are subject to impermanence. They arise and pass away. And seeing this clearly with mindfulness brings the greatest happiness, which is peace. And may the goodness from our practice, may we appreciate it and know that it is of benefit to all beings. Thank you so much for your practice. It brings me great joy to have us practicing together.